Hello, and welcome to the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. Here, we discuss homeschooling from the African perspective and the unique challenges that come with it.
If you're considering homeschooling, we hope to inspire you as you take this bold step. If you're already a homeschooler, we're here to share encouragement for this wonderful journey we're on to educate our children in the best way we can. We are your hosts, Jifa Andam and
Carissa Nete Mabel.
Let's dive right into today's conversation.
Previously on Homeschool Conversations Africa.
I'm excited about today's guest, our friend Julius Richardson. He's a gifted classical pianist.
So my first advice to any parent is play lots of music. Music you really enjoy. You can't fake it. If you don't enjoy it, why do it? And I think what happens then is the children pick their own genre, if you like, that they're really interested in. I mean, occasionally some people love everything. Through that process, children then almost tell you, I want that instrument. And that's an interesting thing, because then I ask myself, why did I choose the piano? Why didn't I want any other instrument? So I asked my violinists and guitarists and they were like, I was attracted to the sound. So children having a reason to play an instrument is a really deep-seated interest themselves. I mean, you can force your kids to play an instrument, but you won't see the spark.
Well, Julius, I think you've really given us a lot to think about concerning, music education and what we can do to help our children and even ourselves. Yeah. So we are going to stop there. I feel like if we go some more, we might not be able to. Yes, exactly. So let's kind of move a bit to talk more about your personal journey with homeschooling. Can you tell us how you finally decided to jump in after us? What happened?
I mean,
and how's it going?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a very long time, and as usual, the talking is what starts, the interest. I had my kids in a school, and I wanted more for them. They were budding musicians, and I just thought that, whatever they were being offered, there was more to it. I mean, it was wonderful. They had a community and everything, and I thought that was the essence. And so there was more we could do, but, unfortunately, that just takes a life of its own. So I think I was pretty, not so satisfied in my 8-year journey with my kids, thinking, I needed them to have more. My interest in homeschooling probably peaked when it came to my attention that a lot of people who were doing really amazing things that I really admired, Olympians, scientists, musicians, a number of them, seem to have this homeschooled, thing. So I started to focus on it, maybe probably earlier, thinking, what is it about this and what would it take? And then I got to talking to people because, you like to sound off and see whether anyone else is thinking that way. And then, you and I got to talking Jifa, and it was like, wow, okay. And then before I knew it, we've jumped. I was like, what? Like we're just talking about it. We're, getting into the excited stage. So I didn't push you to the water. You jumped in and said, this is a really nice pool. You should jump in. And I was like, oh no, So I wasn't really ready. And I think it's usually a decision by both, parents. Fortunately, what I do gives me a lot of time. And I spend more time with my kids than my wife would want to. She's, working full time. So that then gave, this opportunity for us to say, let's try it. But I think COVID was it for us. It happened. Everybody was home. And we're like, doesn't hurt much. Let's jump. I think before that time, we were already using additional tools. So I'd love to say that the platforms, the technology was already in place and had been in place for years, and so it was very easy to find tools to supplement learning. And then we finally said, okay, we're going to do this. So essentially, that's how we came, to the decision. And we've been at it, and now we're not quite going back.
Okay, that's interesting. I think this is great for our listeners to hear. If you're thinking, I didn't start this early enough, my kids are too grown, you can still, this is the bottom line. If you find that something is not working for you, and you think that, and you think that you have another alternative, it could be homeschool, it could be something else, people switch schools. Why stay with what's not working?
Right.
That's what it is for me.
I mean, in some ways, I just feel that the world has shifted so much, except, depending on your perspective, you'd go to a school and a teacher would stand at the board and introduce the concept to you, right? But technology has bridged that gap. Technology gives you that teacher's lesson to be reviewed 1,000,000 times if you want. So on the platforms that I'm using, the subject is being taught by that teacher, and my kids are plugged in listening. I'm having no interactions with them at that point. You have a system that's testing, and it will give you every number of tests to make sure the subject is well understood. Then you have a trigger point, which simply says to you, if your kids, after all the videos they've watched, after all the questions we've given them, still have a problem, shout for help. And then you have a one-on-one interaction with a teacher who is happy to give his time to really put the thing to rest. When I think of that in terms of my lifelong goals, of giving my children an opportunity to be inquisitive and pursuing knowledge, for their entire life, if you like, that fits the goal. Because at a certain point, they almost become brain dead from, a system-based approach, which is almost like we're in class 1 and we're only, I did that. I realized that in math, they were teaching not squared, right? The concept of 2 times 2, not 2 to the power 2. And my son just asked, why is it that we were learning 2 to the power 2 for a whole year? And then only when we graduated a year later were we doing 2 to the power 3. Something as simple as that. It was like I would have gotten it if they taught it as early. So it's almost like a regimented system, again, going back to which purpose. So then I realized, okay, so we can learn so much more, and it's driven by them rather than, the school years, as long as you make it, if you are not on a regimen, but it can be as short as you also want to make it. And that's very exciting, the possibilities to tweak.
It's all at their pace. Schools have to work the way they are for a reason, right? Because you're trying to meet the needs of many people, and so you have to kind of work with averages,
right?
So that's
probably the reason why
it's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's just
it's just what it
the
is.
System. That's what you said, and what the purpose it's serving. But if you can do something else, that's one of the wonderful things, that you can go as slow as a child needs, or as fast as they need to go.
Could you tell us more about what some of the programs you're using?
My kids are on Calvert online school. We're going to try to get onto the academy, but I might not do Calvert. I might do something else. I've been consulting Tifa as well. She has some great tools. And aside from that, they complement that with, because they were in a Cambridge, program, so they complement that with tools as well from their books, from there, and we subscribe to the Great Courses Plus. That's what it's called, but now they call themselves Wonderium or Wondrium, I think. And that gives you this wealth of videos of any subject area of interest. I didn't know that all their iPads could actually be hooked on for free. So we were always watching it from mine till I got told, oh, they could have it as well. And, that just made them very excited. So yeah, essentially those are the tools that we're using. Of course, they're much older. They're 11 and 13. So they're pretty much independent learners. And I'm very excited that they do pick a book and go to the end and do the analysis and everything. And, they're self-learning, which is, I think, is an essential part. Yeah, it's an essential part.
For most of us, right? So, what has the experience been like for the boys?
Right. So, I mean, you can imagine that they came from a system where they're always with their friends, and that was their major concern. I think it's also a major concern for most people who are trying to take this step. It's the big question of social. But then I realized that social wasn't a problem at all. So they have their cousins, and they have, they're really good friends that they stay in touch with. And that wasn't difficult to still keep together. What form that took was, more organized meetings. So for example, they have a group in chess that they belong to. Then all their friendships are around interest areas. So if it's sports, they know who they're going to, meet. And sometimes, people are crossing different interests. So I think they're built around music, chess, and their sports programs. And that gives them enough interaction for them to, thrive on. And they're making very deep connections, which I think is the essence. Because then that helps that great fear of possibly being socially awkward. And you then have to deal with sharing and all those other stuff, and that I think sorts out the problem nicely. They love homeschooling now because they realize that they can focus on the things that makes them excited, and they can get the schoolwork done. And then for me, once you're okay and on track, I'm like, okay, knock yourself out. I don't really have a problem. But yeah, I think now the other day we were having a conversation. They were more like, yeah, we think we found it. We wouldn't want to.
Okay, that's nice. That's good to hear.
Sounds like
you're having fun too.
I hear the difficulties in the earlier years. That might have driven me nuts a bit in terms of having to, because I think it's more hands on. When you are younger, so I've had a wonderful experience so far.
It's interesting. So people, there are a few people who would homeschool like elementary. So maybe people say they will, and then I'll put them in school when it's getting difficult. You did the reverse.
Yeah.
That's cool. Julius, is there anything that you'd like to say? We always ask this question because is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners today? Anything else that you'd like to share about music, about your own personal experience or journey with homeschooling, and that you think would be beneficial to current homeschoolers, to those who are thinking about it? Anything?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to, even share and discuss with you guys about what the journey has been, right? But, it's not something to be scared of, first of all. You might have the questions if you're trying to get into it. But for me, my experience has been very positive. I realized that my kids have become more curious, and as far as my goals for education are concerned, I think they're really getting all of that, right from here. I didn't think it was going to be this way. We've bonded very closely, because every day we're in that situation, right? And they're hearing me and they're speaking back, and they're sharing the opinions. I think that's priceless, that the amount of time that I'm getting to spend with them. But I've made a caveat that if they think they want to go back into the system for any reason, I won't hold it. I'm not stopping anybody. So this is, you feel it as you go. And so far they're more like, no, we think we like this situation. But my encouragement for everybody who's involved is, from the benefits that I see, just keep at it. Just keep being there for them and listen a lot to what they're telling you. There are gems in what they might kind of give you an indication for, and then you can, I wanted my kids to be like instrumental gurus, right? And for a moment that was frustrating because I realized, and that's when your kid actually wakes up, goes to the piano, whatever, and is practicing without you saying it's time for practice, right? And they found chess, both of them. I caught my son up at 3 a.m. and I knew I'd put all the restrictions on his app, so there was no way he was doing anything else. And he'd been playing chess from 11 till 3. I was like, why are you playing chess? This is so intriguing. And he was playing with people all over the world. And I was like, wow, are you really good at this? So, we went on a journey and voila, less than a year later, he becomes under 14 champion. I'm thinking to myself, what? This boy? And he's really excited. And for me, it's exciting going to his games. And when I play with him, we won't even go beyond 23 moves. And I'm totally on the ground. And I'm thinking, wow, and I've been pushing him, towards this. And this was the thing. On the reverse, that's giving him excitement to practice even more. And I never push my kids to play anything. But now he would pick a piece of music, says, once he's found something that makes him feel, this is me, every other thing falls into place nicely. So be encouraged. Please listen to your kids a lot. And you might find that, they're saying something to you that helps them on their journey as well.
I'm genuinely lost for words because this has been such a good episode. So many gems, so many things to chew on, things to think about, things that have really inspired me as a parent myself. So thank you so much for making the time to meet with us. I'm sure that anybody that listens to this episode would be just as inspired and
blown away.
Just as blown away as I'm feeling now. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for
Thank you, Julius.
Cheers.
We appreciate it. Thanks for your time. And
don't be surprised if people ask for your number.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you once again, dear listeners, for joining us on this episode of the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. It has been wonderful. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did and that you took away many great lessons or tips or at least you've been encouraged as you continue on this journey. Thanks and have a wonderful day.
Listen to some music today.
Yes. Bye, guys.